I know I have only 15 minutes, and I'm really thankful for the interpreters who have done a great job so far. And I hope you won't hate me after this, because I'm trying to speak as fast as possible to fit in my 15 slides in 15 minutes. Okay, first a short introduction about Baltic Defence College. It's a equally owned and jointly managed institution between the three Baltic states. It's currently headed by a Lithuanian two-star. It strives to be a modern, future-oriented, attractive and competitive educational institution. It's situated in Tartu, Estonia's second biggest town, with a population of 100,000 people. So it's a very small town. It's a small facility. We have 60-odd personnel, but we have also a cyber angle, which I will tell you about a little bit later. So our mission is, of course, to contribute to research, educate military and civilian personnel, and we also try to do this in a close cooperation with our multinational partners. This I've already covered. Maybe it's interesting for you to know that we do everything in English, and we use NATO standards and procedures as a basis. We have 3 courses and one private course, which we had this year. So we teach both of 3 and of 5 level students, so that's majors and colonels. And we have a small course for civil servants, which I happen to be a director of. This next one will take place in 2016 in September to December. And then in November this year we had, and probably next year we'll continue the tradition to have a senior leaders engagement where we bring really senior leaders in military, starting from brigadier, maybe very senior colonels, to this 1 week of very high level, intense discussions and teachings. So that's all in all our college. About cyber now, what we've done, we've had a cyber person teaching at the college for 3 years. Unfortunately, she left this spring, and we're still looking for another one. So if there are applicants, please, you can contact me later. But we strongly hope that we'll get one person starting from next year, and we'll have a dedicated cyber person at the college again. We started with our cyber conferences as a separate issue from 2013. We started with a cyber strategy formulation, then we went further into teaching how this should be done. We developed a core curriculum for cyber, which we try to we try to use to teach our officers and students as well. And this year now, just a month ago, less than a month ago, we had a very nice conference in Vilnius where I met Mr. Danet on my left. He told us very interesting things about French experience. We tried to tell him interesting things about what we know, and it was very good. It was a very good conference. We focused on operational planning, how to teach cyber to operational planners. So if I were to translate what I've heard here about Saint-Cyr, for example, is that we teach only the first category. So we teach the users. We teach majors, colonels, civil servants, but we teach them on a sort of cybersecurity awareness and how they do cyber on a maybe strategic level, but not the cybersecurity experts. We don't do that. So what we discovered during the conference, we see also that there is a lack of synergy between experts and the planners, and that's because those both groups naturally have different focuses. An operational planner has to take into consideration all those factors, all the traditional factors as well. Nothing has changed, it's just an addition. Now cyber has been an addition. So there's no point in really teaching the operational planner to be a cyber expert, but rather to just add this another layer or another aspect to it. Also,
we sort of listed what we think that the operational planner has to consider. So that's, he or she has to know what in its area, in his or her area of responsibility needs to be protected, or must be protected actually. So that's from critical infrastructure to its own systems, all that. And why they are vulnerable, these infrastructure elements, so that to also understand the threat a little bit more. Then, of course, what to expect from potential adversaries, because, as was said before, that in Africa maybe the threat or the calculation on cybersecurity is much different than a more traditional threat in the European environment, let's say. And then, since cyber is still a very an area or sphere where the effects are strategic still. We don't know what the effects are. They could be cognitive effects, they could be physical effects. You still have to ask for permission from strategic level. We also discussed that there is a movement to force the cyber to operational and tactical level, and this is likely to happen in cyber defense. That's logical. That a company commander, a battalion commander will also already have some cyber defense, have a portfolio for cyber defense. But for attack, it will almost likely that it will remain on strategic level, because nobody really knows what the effects, the additional effects are right now. At least we cannot be contained. For example, the Stuxnet as well. It went to live on its own life afterwards. So. But also, we need to teach the cyber experts in the future, and this is something that we really have to, in the Baltic Defense College, have to think about in the future, and maybe learn from St. Cyr more, to have this part as well, that it's a compromise searching. We have to come to a middle ground. The cyber expert has to also realize where he or she is situated, and how he can contribute to the process, and where to make most value to the commander on the field as well. So quickly about the curriculum development. We strongly believe, and this has been equivocal here as well, that cyberspace needs to be an integral part of military education. It's just a domain that we cannot ignore. We think it has to be a balanced education, that as it comes on top of everything else, a officer's time is still very measured. You cannot add 1 year to the curriculum altogether. That's impossible. So you have to withdraw something else, or reduce some teachings on some other areas. So it's tricky, but I think it can be accomplished in the future. And of course, you have to have always these additional courses before operations, cybersecurity awareness, all that. We have this core curricula. We have had some modules lectured. We have used the CCD COE from Tallinn to give some lectures, some modules in the college as well, and I'm sure our cooperation with the Center of Excellence will continue. I myself, as a substitute for cyber, unfortunately this year, I will give an elective on cyber strategies in the springtime. So it's mostly I try to take maybe 10 majors, depending on their interest, and we try to dissect the cyber strategies of different countries and see if there is a common ground, and also we'll discuss definitely what cyber is and how it relates to them. But this is going to be a very crash course and more of a thinking elective about cyber. Also, we have roundtables. We try to invite people each month to discuss on, again, a variety of topics, and cyber being one of them. And we use cyber as one of the aspects of operational planning exercises and syndicate works. We try to put it more into the exercises. So, in conclusion, we think these are the main not a method, but ideas how we try to do it. We, again, as mentioned many times before, try to advocate for trust and sharing and have a team attitude, because otherwise cyber just won't work, or any operational planning actually won't work without team attitude. And we try to encourage people to have the motivation to walk the extra mile. As my general always says that you can always walk around the extra mile, it's never crowded. So if you're motivated and if you're looking for compromise, there's always a middle ground there. And the cyber expert has to be creative, has to be cleverer than the opponent, has to have this flexibility, adaptability, and the commander needs to realize that if he or she leaves this more reasonable freedom for this expert, he or she will excel better. But of course in military systems this is complicated, I understand that. So that's very briefly. I'm sorry I spoke so fast, but I'm very much open to your questions.